Lindsay here at Green Bay Botanical Garden. In the cottage garden today we're going to be seeding some stuff in the ground. Although it's still a little bit cool, it is starting to warm up a little bit, so it's a perfect time to plant some of the cold hardy vegetable crops that you can start in your own garden. So today you can see some of the things I'm going to be planting in the cottage. I've got some peas, some different lettuces, and some Johnny jump ups, and then some carrots and some rutabagas. So the stuff that you want to be planting in the ground right now are things that are called cold season vegetables. Basically they can handle the cooler temps and a light frost if needed. You want to wait until after danger of frost to pass for anything like your beans, cucumbers, tomatoes, and peppers and all that to get in the ground, because they cannot handle a frost. They're called the warm season crops. So basically it's pretty easy. You just have to have an open space and some garden soil. If you don't have a garden in the at your home, you can plant stuff in containers as well and put them on your patio. And just so you can kind of see, these are some lettuces that reseeded themselves from some lettuce plants last year that I let go to seed. You can see it's time for these guys to start growing because they are growing on their own. So some people like to plant their vegetables in rows. Some people like to scatter them. I'm typically one of the latter because in the cottage garden I don't like things to be very formal. So basically you just kind of like work up the soil so it's nice and loose on top. If you have any big chunks of like debris, you want to kind of get those out of the area you'll be planting in. And then you just kind of sprinkle your seeds on the surface of the soil. It's pretty easy. And you can always thin your seedlings out once they start growing, so don't feel like you have to measure all your seeds out individually. Once they start coming up, you can see where your plants are and you can thin them at that time. So you want to give them a little room to grow just so they can get nice and big, especially these rutabagas. If you have a little space between, you'll be able to get bigger fruit off of that. So after you sprinkle your seeds, you just kind of pat them into the soil so they have contact with the soil, so when they start growing, they can grow nice and healthy. And then take the watering can and you want to lightly water them in. If you use a big heavy hose, you might spray a lot of your seeds out of the soil, which is not good. So use a nice gentle water. I like these little watering cans. They do a really good job. And especially if you're planting among other plants that are already in the ground, or if you're more the scatter method, or if you're like me and you don't remember what you planted and where, make sure you stick some sort of label in the ground, because that way when it's coming up you remember what you should be looking for. A rutabaga seedling is going to look a little bit different than a carrot or a different sort of kale or a lettuce that's coming up, so make sure you stick a label just so you know it's coming up. And you can see last week we already planted some stuff in the ground that we had started earlier from seed back in our greenhouses. We have some kale coming up, some snapdragons, some pansies, and like I said, we already have some lettuce coming up, so those are all things that can handle the cool temperatures. So that's a little bit of the fun we have going on today, so now's a good time to start planting this cool season stuff in your own gardens at home. Hello, we're coming to you from the Crest Oval today. I'm here next to George and Marguerite Crest, who are not quite socially distanced, but they got their masks on because they're within 6 feet. So wanted to bring you out here today because a lot of our tulips this week are starting to come into their glory. We had some cooler temperatures the last couple of weeks, so the daffodils kind of lingered a little bit longer and the tulips were just starting to go. But now that we're getting a little bit warmer at the end of this week, they're really going to start pop. So we brought you into the Crest today because in here we have a lot of oranges and purples going on, which is a nice color contrast to the yellows and whites of the daffodils that you've been seeing a lot these last couple of weeks. So we'll kind of show you the really good spots every week with all the different colors going on. Mark likes to plan the areas so each garden kind of has a theme or certain colors, so everything looks a little bit different and not everything is the same. So in here, last year we planted a new blend. It is called Stop the Car Tulip Blend. That's all these oranges and purple tulips that we have in here, and you can see we have some red fritillarias that some of them are a little bit towards the end of their peak color here, but you can see they really complement that reddish tinged purpley bloom that they are on there. And then you can see we have a lot of other different colors kind of throughout the crest. Those are different mixes that have been planted throughout the last couple years, because with a lot of these perennials mixed in here. The tulips don't always last as long as they might in your yard. That might not be as crowded with plants. So the crest usually has quite a few plants put in every year that get really, really big. So some of our bulbs don't last as long as they would otherwise in different areas of the garden. So you can see across the way we have a horticulturalist, Ashley Barco, is tending to the garden bed. She's trying to keep all the weeds in check because, like we said, we don't have our volunteers helping us out at the moment. You know, we really miss you guys and can appreciate everything that you do for us, but we're, you know, keeping on top of things as the weather allows. So she's making sure everything's looking good, so when you guys come back to visit us, you know, it's like you were never gone and we were never gone, and we're here the whole time keeping things looking good. So you can see on the edge here too, Rachel already pan-passed these grape hyacinths are cool little border plants. Some of them that have been in the southern exposures are kind of on their downward slide, but now some of the ones that were in the shade, a little bit cooler areas, are starting to open up. So those are a nice little border plant, a really cool purpley bluey color. They look like little bundles of grapes, hence the name grape hyacinth. So, and if you look over this way, you can kind of see in the front of our well house, we have a nice combination up there of some like creamy yellows and some pinky coral colors. Don't know the name of that blend off the top of my head. And then across the fountain over here, we have some hyacinths, which are kind of on their way down, but that's also planted with some tulip and daffodils in there. So now that the hyacinths are starting to go downhill a little bit this week, you know, the tulips and daffodils will start filling in their place. So Mark does a really good job of planting all of these planting beds with a succession of blooms, so it's not just like a week of blooms and then everything is done. We get to kind of enjoy those blooms for a little bit longer. So like we said before, the cooler temps that we've had the last couple of weeks have kind of made things last a little bit longer, but now that it's going to be warming up again, things will start going a little bit faster. Which is okay because, you know, that's part of spring and part of Mother Nature. And if you look up behind me or on top of me, these Adirondack crab apples are just nice and green and leafing out right now, but probably in a week or so I would imagine those are going to start blooming as well. So that's a nice, really pretty spring feature that we have with our flowering crab apples. So those are some of the cool things that we have going on up here right now. You can see our lovely lawn spotted in yellow. Those are some beautiful dandelions that a lot of people like to pick out of the yards, but they're actually a really good early season pollinator for honeybees and a lot of the early flying pollinators that don't have a lot of other things to get food source from right now. So a little bit of yellow in your lawn is okay, and it's not going to hurt anything. And sometimes if you plan your plantings right, you can see some of our tulips and the Schneider Terrace up here are yellow, so they are kind of color echoing our dandelions. Not sure if Mark planned it that way or not, but it happened and it's really pretty. So stay tuned, I guess, for all of our updates as more of our tulips start opening up. We'll make sure to share pictures and some videos and take you on some little tours, and hopefully, you know, be able to open up soon and you guys can all come out and enjoy it for yourself. So have a great day.